Mark Zuckerberg, only 27 and worth an estimated $17 billion, started Facebook as a Harvard freshman in 2004. He, like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs before him, dropped out of college to make his company. In 2010, he was Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Sheryl Sandberg, married and the mother of two, came from a different place. She was a hugely successful Google executive after serving as chief of staff for the Secretary of the Treasury. She is a graduate of Harvard University and the Harvard Business School. She was recently named among the 50 most powerful women in business by Fortune magazine. Mark recruited her from Google in 2008.
I was at Google at the time.
So did you think at that moment, did you think, well, maybe this is something special?
A few people who I really respect had pointed Sheryl out as someone who could be a really good partner for me at Facebook. But at the time, I mean, I was just really interested because I had a lot of respect looking at what you built at Google and wanting to get a sense for some of the lessons that you'd learned and just figuring, even if we didn't work together, how can I apply some of those things to Facebook? But I mean, after that, I think, I went away over the New Year's break, and then I got back and I was like, I want to spend some more time learning from Sheryl.
But I think the reason it's a good fit is we spent most of our time talking about, what we both cared about and what motivated us. And I could see from Mark that what he really wanted to build was something that was, fundamentally going to change who we are and how we interact.
Together, they have taken Facebook to its dominance of social media and made it an enormously valuable company worth more than $80 billion. Here is what Time Magazine said in 2010 when it named Zuckerberg Person of the Year. Quote, in less than 7 years, Zuckerberg wired together a twelfth of humanity into a single network, thereby creating a social entity almost twice as large as the United States. If Facebook were a country, it would be the third largest behind only China and India. It started out as a lark, a diversion, but it has turned into something real, something that has changed the way human beings relate to one another on a species-wide scale. Facebook has merged with the social fabric of American life, and not just American, but human life. Nearly half of all Americans have a Facebook account, but 70% of Facebook users live outside the United States. It's a permanent fact of our global social reality. We have entered the Facebook age, and Mark Zuckerberg is the man who brought us here. And Sheryl Sandberg joins Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook to help take it to new levels of impact and consequence.
Tell me what the mission is today for Facebook. You've got 800 million and counting users. It's an extraordinary reach. Someone said it's the most expansive human enabler of communication, or an enabler of human communication there's ever been.
We're trying.
You're doing well at it too. So what's the mission? Where is this thing going?
So the stated mission of the company is to make the world more open and connected, right? And the idea is that when you give people this ability to stay connected with all the people they care about, and you make it so that they can express new things about themselves or in communication with other people who they care about, then you just open up all these new possibilities. You make it so people can stay connected in ways that they couldn't before. They can learn about new things, whether it's events that are happening in the world, or ability to organize new things, or learn about new products, or new movies, or music that they want to listen to. It opens up a lot of new possibility when you can keep all of these connections open to the people that you care about. So obviously a big part of our mission is just connecting all these different people in the world. And one of the things that we are really proud of is that now 800 million people around the world are using Facebook every month, and perhaps even crazier. It's mind-blowing from my perspective, but more than 500 million people use Facebook every day. And I mean, I just think that's crazy.
500 million
500 million people. Yeah, and it's growing,
and
it's growing every day. And I mean, if you just look back 7 years from when we were getting started, I mean, there would be no way that, that we would have...
500 million people in your dorm room?
The funny thing is that, I used to talk to a lot of my friends when I was in college. We used to go out to get pizza every night, and we used to talk about what we thought was going to happen in the world and on the internet. And we thought that there would be something like this, right? That, it seemed pretty much inevitable that people would have a way to connect, and that they would be able to express all these things, and that there would be tools to make not just a social network, but that every product that you use is better off with your friends. And we figured that there would be tools to do that. But the big surprise of this thing is that we've played a big role in making that happen. And when we were in college, we just figured, who are we to do this, right? I mean, maybe we can create this cool little community for ourselves at college, but clearly it's going to be some other company that does this.
But that's what it is, a web within a web, is it not?
Well,
it's a personalized web within the web.
I think it's shaping the broader web, right? I mean, right now, if you look back for the past 5 or 7 years, the story of social networking has really been about getting these 800 million people connected, right? So that they can stay in touch with all these people who they care about and getting them signed up for Facebook and all that. But if you look forward for the next 5 years, I think that the story that people are going to remember 5 years from now isn't how this one site was built. It was how every single service that you use is now going to be better with your friends because they can tap into your friends, right? So whether it's music services that, I mean, we just announced this new product a little more than a month ago, and since then, some of the music services that are out there, I mean, Spotify has grown from a little more than 3 million users with Facebook to now more than 7 million users with Facebook. Another service called Mog has grown from, I think it's a relatively small number of subscribers, but it's grown by 4 or 5 times in the last month alone. Yeah. And I think what that just shows is that all of these different products are better when you're doing them with your friends. I mean, think about it. Do you want to go to the movies by yourself, or do you want to go to the movies with your friends, right? You want to go with your friends.
Or do you want to know what your friends like rather than what a whole different matrix likes?
It's the wisdom of crowds to the wisdom of friends.
From the wisdom of crowds being, so that's Google versus Facebook right there.
I don't think it's Google versus Facebook. I think it represents
the wisdom of crowds versus the wisdom of friends.
Well, I think the wisdom of crowds applies not just to Google, but to a phase of the web, which was about information and about links. Yeah. And it was a lot of wonderful things, mostly based on anonymity and links between the crowds. What does the crowd think? What is the best thing? Yeah. Ours just starts from a totally different place, so it is an evolution. The information web still exists, it's still broadly used, but the social web didn't exist before. The social web can't exist until you are your real self online. I have to be me, you have to be Charlie Rose, he has to be Mark Zuckerberg, I have to be Sheryl Sandberg. Once we are online as ourselves, connected to each other and our other friends, then you can have the evolution of what becomes the social web. Not just on Facebook, but throughout.
What is it about that people want to be on Facebook? They want to talk about themselves. What is the sort of essence of that?
I think that people just have this core desire to express who they are. Right. I mean, I think it's always existed. It's one of the things that I think makes us human. But and obviously to know what's going on with your friends' lives, or not just your friends, but people you care about, right? People who you're interested in who aren't your friends, or maybe are on the periphery of your social circle. I think that those are all just core human needs. And until Facebook, there wasn't a great tool for doing that. But I think that a lot of that and building that up was the last 5 years. I think the next 5 years is going to be about, okay, now you're connected to all these people. Now you can have a better music listening experience. You can have a better movie watching experience. You can see what your friends are reading and learn what news you should read first. All of these things I think are gonna get better, and that's the thing that I'm most excited about for the next 5 years. And if we do well, I think 5 years from now, people are really going to look back and say, wow, over the last 5 years, all these products have now gotten better because I'm not doing this stuff alone, I'm doing it with my friends.
And it's personal. It's not just that you're bringing your friends with you and then it becomes personal to you. So if you look at how people use most of the web, most products out there, even if you're logged in, if I looked over your 2 shoulders, you see the same stuff because it's basically produced for the masses. And ours is different.
Is the key to the monetization of the future the fact that advertisers will believe this is the best way to reach people who are likely to buy their products?
So marketers have always wanted, personal relationships with consumers, or relationships where consumers do 2 things. Consumers buy their products and consumers tell their friends that they buy their products. Marketers have always been looking for that person who's not just going to buy, but spread the word to their friends. What we do on Facebook is we enable marketers to find that, and then if I do it on Facebook, I'm sharing with an average of 130 people. And so it becomes word-of-mouth marketing at scale. So people can tell each other what they like, which is, for marketers, the thing they've been looking for, I think, for a long time.
So then why do you want to be a public company? Why do you even think about an IPO?
I actually think the biggest thing for us is that a big part of being a technology company is getting the best engineers and designers and talented people around the world. Yeah. And one of the ways that you can do that is you compensate people with equity or options, right? So you get people who want to join the company, both for the mission, right? Because they believe that Facebook is doing this awesome thing and they want to be a part of connecting everyone in the world. But also, if the company does well, then they get financially rewarded and can be set. And you know, we've made this implicit promise to our investors and to our employees that by compensating them with equity and by giving them equity, that at some point we're going to make that equity worth something publicly and liquidly, in a liquid way. And now the promise isn't that we're going to do it on any kind of short-term time horizon. I mean, the promise is that we're going to build this company so that it's great over the long term, right? And that we're always making these decisions for the long term.
But at some point we'll do that. For your
yeah, well, whether it's a dividend or not, they'll be able to trade their equity for money. And that's something that we take seriously as a responsibility of running the company. And we just care deeply about all the employees and the investors who have been there with us.
Has the Groupon experience and has other things changed your sense of the timing of an IPO?
I don't think
Not
so.
really.
No.
You'll go when what? When will you
it makes
decide?
sense.
Ready.
No, but what will tell you it makes sense?
I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah.
But you'll just know.
I mean, yeah, it's honestly, it's not something I spend a lot of time on a day-to-day basis thinking about now.
How do you measure the impact that we now believe social media play in the Arab Spring? I mean, obviously you had to be interested in that because it had a reality and it changed governments.
Yeah.
What have you come to understand about that?
My personal take on this is that that social media's role is maybe a bit overblown in that. I mean, the way that I think about it is that if people want change, then they will find a way to get that change, right? So whatever technology they may or may not have used was neither a necessary nor sufficient case for getting to the outcome that they got to, but having people who wanted change was. So, I mean, I hope that Facebook and other internet technologies were able to help people, just like we hope that they help them communicate and organize and do whatever they want to every single day.
But do you know?
But I don't pretend that if Facebook didn't exist, that this wouldn't have been possible. Of course it would have.
Yeah, but it was certainly accelerated. And do you know of any effort in terms of where governments, because of that, are trying to shut down Facebook in terms of access?
I mean, there are examples intermittently throughout the world all the time, but
and there are places we're not available. As well. China's obviously the big one. We're
That's a big question,
not broadly available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you see that going into China? Because and if in fact it requires some sense of censorship, does that make it a don't go?
If your mission is to connect the entire world for all the reasons we've been talking about, you can't connect the whole world and not China.
Right.
That's not something we're working on or focused on right now because it's not a decision we have to make. So you are correct that when and if we go into China,
1.5 billion people.
Well, we'll have issues, but since for right now we're not available and we don't have an immediate path to become available, these are not policy decisions we have to make.
So it's not on the immediate horizon
to
go into China.
Horizon.
And the reason is, though, is it because of what happened to Google?
So it's not really our choice. It's the government's choice, We're not available because they've chosen
because they acted a certain way, you've chosen not to go there. Fair enough.
No, it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
and then at some point, I think there would be some discussion around what it would take to go there, and then we'd at that point have to figure out whether we were willing to do that. But honestly, the way that we look at it now is there's so many other places in the world where we can connect more people more easily without having to face those hard questions that, I mean, I think a simple rule in business is if you do the things that are easier first, then you can actually make a lot of progress, right? And I assume, we talk about running Facebook for the long term, and over the decades in which we hope to run and build Facebook to be a great company, I would imagine that this will be a question that we have to answer. But I mean, right now, there's still so much room for growth in a lot of other countries that it's not the top thing that we're worried about right now.
To achieve your objectives that you want to do, the expansion, the connection, the advertising revenue, how important and where do you put making sure that Facebook gets more of the best engineers than anybody else, regardless of where you have
First,
to steal
second,
them.
and third.
That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. But
it's really
Steal
important.
is not really.
Yeah.
We attract them.
If you go to Google and you ask about you, they say steal.
Attract.
He brought you from Google and you brought other people from Google.
He attracted me from Google. I attracted, I wanted to
But it's,
hiring engineers is
You think Larry would believe it was attraction or theft.
Well, people are not property in the United States, so I'm fairly certain he would say. But you're getting at a really important question, which is engineering talent in this country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which there is not enough of. So we would hire lots more people. Google would hire lots more people. Every company we know of has more desire for engineers.
Has more need for the talented engineers,
we have them.
And you can't find them.
Cannot find them.
How much of that is because of U.S. immigration policy?
Some.
I'm not sure. I think some of it is that, but a lot of it is just education. I mean, I think that there's not enough supply of engineers to meet the demand. I mean, all of my friends who, have younger siblings who are going to college or high school, I mean, my number one piece of advice is you should learn how to program. I mean, I think that in the future, all kinds of jobs, I mean, not even just straight engineering jobs, but all kinds of different jobs are going to involve some element of programming. And I mean, I just look at, when I was in school, and I remember the average salary that an engineer, one of my computer science classmates got. And it's gone up at least 50%, maybe even doubled in the last 7 years since I was at school. And I think the reason is that the economy is shifting, and there are more companies that are growing that are these technology and software focused companies, and the skill set of being able to write code is so highly in demand that, and the amount of engineers who are graduating isn't growing at a fast enough rate that the people who are there are just in more demand, and they get paid more.
And we have both an education problem and an immigration problem.
Right.
So
that's true.
There's an education problem that we do not train, and we don't graduate enough kids from high school. We don't graduate enough kids from college in this country. And having these kind of skills, we're just absolutely far off. And also, the immigration policy you talked about is very real. So, someone made a joke. We give a huge percentage of the spots in our engineering undergrad and grad program to people from other countries, and then we kick them out. It's like a company. We'd have Facebook training, and we'd train everyone, and then we'd say, but you can't work here. Go work for our competitors. That's what we're doing as a country. People have talked about stapling.
Right.
We should be stapling a visa.
A green card to every diploma.
To every high-tech diploma, because those people, not only do they not take jobs from other Americans, they create jobs for other Americans. I mean, there are so many stories on this. We have one guy named Javier Olivan who works here. He was one of the best engineering students in Spain, nationwide, came to Stanford to get his MBA, started here, works with us, and he created our internationalization tools. He runs our internationalization projects. We serve most of the world from the United States. It's the opposite of what everyone thinks is happening. We're not hiring out there to serve here. We're serving. We entered the visa lottery for him, and we won and kept the jobs here. But if we had lost, we would have moved those jobs to wherever he could work. But because we got him a visa, those jobs stay here.
All right, but let me ask this question, which is at the heart of a debate that's going on in America, which is, the competition of America with the rest of the world. Facebook came out of America. Apple came out of America. Microsoft came out of America. Google came out of America. Are those things going to be coming, those kinds of companies, the kind of company you created, more likely to come from China tomorrow?
I think that there's actually two big ingredients. I mean, one of the big parts of the Facebook story was that, I didn't have to have some master plan at the beginning. I didn't have to have a lot of money. I literally coded Facebook in my dorm room and launched it from my dorm room. I rented a server for $85 a month, and I funded it by putting an ad on the side, and we funded it ever since by putting ads on the side.
Right.
And, but literally just starting small and growing it. So I think you need two things. One is the ability to have engineers, and educate engineers who can just try out their own ideas. And the second is the ability to try out their own ideas, and the freedom to do that. And the U.S., I think, historically has been extremely good at both. We've led in education, and we've led in freedom and supporting people trying risky things.
Free market economics.
And
and a sense of innovation and creativity and
public policy that supports entrepreneurship.
Right.
In America, you can hire and fire.
Right.
In America, you can start a company without going through endless bureaucratic red tape, even though it's growing a bit.
Yes.
Right? I mean, in America, we've had a country of entrepreneurs. We've set up our political system so you can start companies, you can close companies. I think people don't always see the costs of increasing bureaucracy on entrepreneurship. The best people are going to go where they can get the best talent and where they have the best environment to hire.
Speaking of environment, how is your culture, say, different from the culture that you saw at Google? What is the Facebook culture?
When I think about this, if you compare Facebook and Google to, most of the world, right, to other companies and other industries, they're actually in some ways incredibly similar. They are founder-led, Silicon Valley-based technology companies that have broad
Driven by
missions.
engineering.
That's right, driven by engineering. They're very similar.
Right.
In the little Silicon Valley bubble in which we live, they're totally different.
How so?
A couple things. One is that, Google is fundamentally
You're interested in
about
sales.
Yeah,
algorithms.
no, I'm interested in hearing what you'll say as well.
No, but Google is fundamentally about, algorithms and machine learning.
Right.
And that has been very important and continues to be very important. They're doing a great job. We start from a totally different place. We start from an individual. Who are you? What do you want to do? What do you want to share? Mm-hmm. For us, the vision of the world is that we are like a hacking culture, and we mean that in the best of ways. We do not mean scary people breaking into your home or anything.
Or espionage.
Or espionage. What we mean is we build things quickly and ship them. Mm-hmm. So we are not aiming for, perfection that comes over, years, and then we ship a product. We don't work on things for years and then ship it. We work on things, we ship them, we get feedback from the people who use it, we get feedback from the world, we iterate. We have these great signs around. Done is better than perfect. What would you do if you weren't afraid? We're very much a culture.
It's the notion of perfect is the enemy of good.
Yeah, and a culture of very, very rapid innovation.
It is really different from a culture where you're already taking the web and your primary mission is, okay, I want to organize something that's out there. Right. We have this culture where we place a really big premium on moving quickly, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the big theories that I had about that was that all technology companies, and probably all companies, just slow down dramatically as they grow. But if we can focus at every step along the way and moving quicker, then maybe when we're around 2,500 or 3,000 people now, maybe we move as quickly as a company that only has 500 people, right? Because we've invested so much in building up the infrastructure and tools, and also the culture that tells people to take risks and try things out. And I just think that ability to build stuff quicker will be a big advantage for us and will help us build better products over the long term.
I want to talk about the future and competition. There are many people who look to Silicon Valley and they say there are 4 platforms out here. It's Amazon, it's Apple, it's Google, it's Facebook. And that what we're going to witness over the next 10 years is a flat-out war between the 4 of you for the future. How do you see that?
I mean, people like to talk about war. There's a lot. There are a lot of ways in which the companies actually work together. There are real competitions in there, but I don't think that this is going to be the type of situation where there's one company that wins all this stuff.
But you're already getting in each other's businesses.
I mean,
you know that.
Yes and no.
There's something called Google Plus.
Yes and no. I mean, I think Google, I think in some ways is more competitive and certainly is trying to build their own little version of Facebook. Yeah. But when I look at Amazon and Apple, and I see companies who are extremely aligned with us, right? And and we have a lot of conversations with people at both companies, just trying to figure out ways that we can do more together, and there's just a lot of reception there. And I mean, I can't think of an Apple product or an Amazon product that I look at and is like, oh, that's really a threat.
Look at it. Amazon just announced a new Kindle Fire,
I know,
which is their tablet to compete with the iPad.
And that's cool.
Yeah,
and,
but
I mean,
so
we don't have a tablet, so we can care less about it.
There are no borders out here in terms of what you might want to do. Come on,
well,
Sheryl.
There are no borders for us, certainly, right? Because we want everything to be social, and we prefer everything to be social with Facebook. And so for us, our goal is really to work across. We want to work on every tablet.
Right.
Yeah, this is the important
part. And Apple and Amazon, God bless them, they can compete and build lots of different tablets.
You found a device and we want to be seen on it.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, if you're Amazon, one of the big strategies is sell Kindle so you can sell more things, right? If you're Apple, a big part of your strategy is sell devices because that's how you make money.
Right.
If you're Google, they want to get Android as widely adopted as possible. And
so they go therefore they go out and they buy Motorola.
Yeah, but our goal is,
for example, little purchase on the side.
And there are rumors that Microsoft may buy Nokia or something like that.
Sure. So but our goal is not to build a platform; it's to be across all of them.
Right.
I mean, because our mission is to help people connect and stay connected with people no matter what devices they're on.
And this is really important. It actually gets back to the differences before we were talking about with Google and Facebook.
Right.
There's one thing that I think is most important that's true of Facebook, which is that we are focused on doing one thing incredibly well. We only really want to do one thing.
Social media.
Connect the world.
Connect the world. Okay,
and
fair enough.
And be the social technology people use. I think if you look at other companies, all of these companies are doing lots of different things, but we are still, as we grow, doing exactly
but here's
one
the thing.
thing.
There's nothing you think you can't do.
I actually thought you were going to go in a different direction with this. Because, I mean, it is true that there's a corollary to what you just said, right? So it is true we are focused on this one thing, but because there's all this other stuff out there, that means that Facebook has evolved as a partnership company.
That's right.
Right, which is very different from the way that Apple or Google or Amazon or Microsoft or any of these folks are, right? I mean, if Apple or Google wants to build a product, they typically go build it, right?
That's
Whereas if Facebook wants to make it so that, you know, we want to help rethink the way that people listen to music or watch movies, what do?
Right.
We build a platform on top of which people can connect, and we enable all these different companies, dozens of companies, to plug in. Companies that are big companies, companies that are small companies, things that don't even exist. It's a really different approach than what all these other companies have.
But the end result is you want to provide a means for people to look at movies, to listen to music.
But they can be using other people's services.
But we don't want to provide the means. This is the thing. Our one thing that is the basis of our partnership strategy and our partnership approach, we build the social technology. They provide the music.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want people to use Facebook to watch movies or read newspaper articles.
You want to do what? You want to.
We want to provide the social technology. So we want them to listen to music on the iPhone or through Apple or through Spotify. Anything they want. We want them to watch movies anywhere. We just want Facebook to be how they share wherever they are. And so we do this one thing, which underlies this huge partnership strategy. And it does make us, I think, pretty different than many of the other companies you're talking about.
Just take the movies thing as an example.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
biggest movie companies that are partners right now and are building on top of our platform are Netflix and Hulu, right? And I guess Hulu's more on the TV side. But people can share all kinds of videos that they're watching. You can see the top things that your friends are watching. So I could go to your profile or your timeline, and if you want, you can have a box up there that's what are the TV shows that you watch the most, and I can go ahead and click on it, and it'll take me right to the Hulu app, and I can start watching that. That I think is really powerful. The piece that Facebook is doing is saying, okay, we're friends, right, and allowing you to share that I want to express to people what are the TV shows that I like, and now Facebook is giving me a place to go see what you want to watch if you want to share that. But then from there, you click on it and it takes you to Hulu, or it takes you to Netflix, or if you want to listen to music, it takes you to Spotify, or it takes you to one of these other companies.
But is central here your sense that the future belongs to social networking? That's
I think
the
that
future?
A big piece of it is.
Finish that.
But
it's not everything. I mean, if you think about it, in your own life, right, with all the things that you do, how many of the things that you do are better when you're doing them with other people or with your friends? Probably a lot, but not everything, but a big piece of that.
Almost everything.
And I think that we can help power that, but for all of those things, then, you know, some of them we're going to build ourselves, right? So the core experience where I can go learn stuff about you, right, based on what you've shared, we're going to build that piece, right? The core piece where you can see all of the stuff that's going on with all your friends that they wanted to share. We'll build that piece. But the piece where, you know, you go to try to consume a specific type of content, right? I want to see what news my friends are reading. That'll be newspapers.
And this is why this matters, right? Because we can win along with lots of other people winning. And that is totally different, I think, about the strategy of if news becomes more social, that's great for Facebook if it happens with our technology, but
because you're the great connector of the world.
It is great for the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Huffington Post and anyone who chooses to use our technology, which we make available to every news service out there. And we're not trying to replace everyone or do everything. We want to enable everything to be more social for everyone else.
Yeah, I think it's actually it's a lot more extreme even than you're saying. I mean, games is probably the biggest industry today that has gone really social, right? I mean, the incumbent game companies are really being disrupted and are quickly trying to become social. I mean, you have companies like Zynga, which are going public soon and will be valued most likely at multi-billion-dollar valuations, and basically all of their games are built on top of Facebook for the most part, and a huge number of other companies as well. So, I mean, does Facebook build any games? No. We build no games.
You say that. You say that today.
No,
you say that today.
Actually,
I'm pretty sure
we're not going to build any games.
Negative on me. We're not going to build games.
Well, why are you so sure?
Here's
I'm
why.
saying this
Here's
because
why.
people thought that
Steve
Steve Jobs would never go into retail, and he did.
I will tell you why.
All right.
Because building games is really hard.
So that's the only reason.
And what we're doing is really hard, and we think that we're better off focusing on this piece. I think that building a great game service is really hard. Building a great music service is really hard. Building a great movie service is really hard. And we just believe that an independent entrepreneur will always beat a division of a big company, which is why we think that the strategy of these other companies trying to do everything themselves will inevitably be less successful than an ecosystem where you have someone like Facebook trying to build the core products to help people connect, and then independent great companies that are only focused on one or two things doing those things really well.
And most companies don't have the discipline to do it, right?
Yeah.
They get big, and everyone wants to do everything, and they just say yes, and then they don't do everything well.
At this point, enter this name, Steve Jobs. I've had an experience with him once at Time 100, and he walked over to say hello, and I was talking to a young entrepreneur who was obviously in awe and thrilled. It was the greatest moment of his life. That was Steve. And I said to Steve, what should he do? And Steve said to me, he should focus on his knitting, not try to do everything, do one thing well.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that conversation with Steve Jobs?
I don't know.
You have a lot of conversations with Steve.
Well, one of the funny things is when you agree with someone, you tend not to talk about it for too long because you just take it as an assumption. So, I mean, I think in some of our conversations, it might have been like, yeah, that thing, okay, yeah, now let's go talk about something else.
So what were the conversations like? I mean, here's someone who's...
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's amazing. He was amazing. I mean, I had a lot of questions for him on...
Well, like what?
How to build a team around you, right? That's focused on building as high quality and good things as you are. How to keep an organization focused, right? When I think the tendency for larger companies is to try to fray and go into all these different areas. Yeah, I mean, a lot just on the aesthetics and kind of mission orientation of companies. I mean, Apple is a company that is so focused on just building products that for their customers and their users. And that's like it's such a deep part of their mission is build these beautiful products for their users. And I think we connected a lot on this level of, okay, Facebook has this mission that's really more than just trying to build a company, right? That has like a market cap or a value. It's like we're trying to do this thing in the world. And I don't know, a lot of it, I just think we connected on that level.
Did he ever suggest that Apple might buy Facebook?
No, I don't think it ever really got there. I mean, nor would I have wanted to sell it. And I remember talking to him.
And I think he would have known that.
Yeah, and
I talked to him too about this, and like I think
about what? About the buying?
I think he understood Mark enough to know that Mark didn't want to sell his company because he wouldn't want
But
to
he
sell.
raised a question with you.
No, but I think having talked to him about Facebook and Apple, he didn't raise it, but I don't think he would have because he would have understood that about Mark.
Actually, I mean, I think
it was
that
like
there
him.
was.
He wouldn't have wanted to sell.
There was this
Did he ever then do the? Go ahead, you say.
I mean, there's this quote I think in the book that just came out about him, where
The
I mean,
Walt
it's
Isaacson book.
Yeah, I mean, it's and I took it as this amazing compliment. I mean, he said, I admire Facebook because they don't want to sell out. Right. So, I actually think that's one of the ways in which we saw eye to eye on kind of what we were trying to do in the world, and I just think because of that, it probably just wouldn't have come up.
You've had, I mean, Microsoft owns a piece of Facebook. You've had an opportunity, I'm sure, to sell. You'll never sell. Is that a fair statement?
No one even asks anymore.
Yeah.
It's too big now. Nobody can afford you anymore.
Exactly.
Is that the central idea? Yeah.
Yeah.
But and you, I mean, can you imagine wanting to buy somebody?
And we buy companies all the time.
I know, but they're small companies.
Yeah.
And they're companies driven by certain expertise.
Yeah,
or certain software.
I don't think that buying a company or selling a company is necessarily a good or a bad thing. I just think that the key thing that you need to realize is that when you go through a transaction like that, what you are changes, right? And if you're now owned by someone else, then your goals are going to either quickly or over time become their goals, right? So they're actually, I think, a lot of compelling reasons why someone would sell a company and why it would advance their mission. I mean, I think, for example, YouTube might have been a good version of this, right? Where, I mean, they had these huge expenses, and Google funded it and has grown it, and it's grown into, I think, a really good product. Maybe beyond what the founders had even hoped.
Maybe if Microsoft had been able to buy Yahoo, it might have worked.
Maybe it's hard to tell, but I mean, a lot of the acquisitions that we make at Facebook are, we look at great entrepreneurs out there who are building things. And often the acquisitions aren't even to really buy their company or what they're doing. It's to get the really talented people who are out there trying to build something cool and say, if you join Facebook, you could work on this completely different problem. Isn't this a more important problem? And for the people who answer that question, yes, they join. And that's how we've had the most success so far.
Let me talk about what you know about all of us. It is this notion that constantly comes up. Is there anything you do not want to know about?
I just don't even think we think about it that way. I mean, it's
okay. Well, help me think about it in the right way. How you think about it, because I mean, the like button, it is a powerful tool.
It's not for us, though, right? I mean, it's for
people
advertisers. To express. No, it's not for advertisers.
But it's for people. People relate to each other.
I think that this is a core part of what makes Facebook Facebook, is that we really are focused on users first and for the long term, right? We believe that if we build a product where people can connect and can express all the things that they want about themselves, that over the very long term, we'll have a lot of people doing that, because that's a core human thing where people want to do that, and they'll be very active, and we'll have opportunities to sell advertising and do all these things and build a great business. But none of that is the leading thing that we're pushing for. What we're pushing for is the mission. We think that if we succeed on that, then we're going to build a great business. Now, if I just think that there's this core part of people where they want to express things about themselves. So the question isn't, what do we want to know about people? It's, what do people want to tell about themselves, right? And we try to answer that question continuously. What do people want to tell about themselves that they can't tell now, right? We think this year that one of the big things that people want to express that they haven't had a way to, or what are my favorite songs and different media that I consume. And there's been a way for you to type in, okay, my favorite band is Green Day or the Beatles or whatever, but there hasn't been a way to say, okay, out of all the songs that I've listened to in the last month, here are the top ones. But in the month or so since we've launched that functionality on top of platform, people have already chosen to publish more than 1 billion songs that they've listened to into Facebook through partners. And it's amazing. So, and it's because they want to do that.
And it's really important to understand that we don't want people to express anything. We want them to have an opportunity to express what they want to express to the people they want to express it. So privacy has been very core to this service. I think it's actually one of the big innovations Facebook had. If you think about online services before Facebook, they're basically open or closed. Something you publish on a blog is open, your corporate email closed. Facebook was the first place that one of the core innovations Mark had was actually around privacy. I can take this photo, I can take a photo of the three of us here. I can share it just with my parents. I can share it just with my little group of my high school girlfriends, or I can share it with all of Facebook or the whole world. And every single time you share something on Facebook, you have an opportunity to choose who you're sharing it with.
Yeah.
And that commitment to our users, that their trust is sacred, that privacy is the most important thing we do, is something that's been here throughout. And it's really important for people.
But having said all of that, when you've gotten in trouble, it's on the issue of privacy.
Yeah, I agree. And it's something that I think that just speaks to how important and fundamental of an issue that is. Right? When I was talking a minute ago about what are the ways that people want to share that we can make happen this year, one of the core things that flows through all of this is that I'd say that probably at this point still the vast majority of people don't want to share everything, or don't even want to share anything with everyone publicly. But if you give people tools so that they can share with just their friends, or just one group of friends, or just their family, then they'll do that.
Okay, but are they always the wisest people to know what they want to share and how sharing might rebound?
I believe that they are. I mean, I think that
you trust the judgment of most people to know who they want to share.
Yeah, and I think that people go through a learning process too, where maybe when social networks were first ramping up on the web, some people shared a few things too broadly, but I think that that's part of the reason why I think Facebook has grown, is I think Facebook largely existed after that, the Friendster and the MySpace phase of the social web, and at a point where people were already sophisticated enough to realize, hey, I want to share different things with different people. I'm going to use these privacy controls that Facebook has given me, that Facebook is really the first company that has built these controls, so that you can share things with just your friends, or I can share vacation photos from my family vacation with just my family if I want, or I can do all these different things. And I think that that's one of the big enablers on the service.
And it's something we continue to evolve. So control is what matters here. People want control. They want to share what they want with who they want. And as long as we roll out products, we continue on the control. So for example, we are launching, we've already unveiled, Mark unveiled a number of weeks ago, in the next bunch of weeks, we're making our timeline, our new profile, available to everyone.
What is that?
So right now you have a profile,
yes,
and the timeline is a more visual representation of who you are and includes further back in your life, not just when Facebook started, but further back. So I've actually spent the last week uploading childhood pictures, but here's what matters. I can go back and change the privacy controls on something I've already. So if I go back now and build my timeline and I say, oh, I shared that with this group of people, I actually want to share that with more people or fewer, we are giving that control. So what matters as people learn is that they have the controls they need to share with who they want. And that's something we are continually
But there are also these stories that you read about in terms of when somebody has something on their Facebook page that somebody got access to, and therefore they didn't get hired. Something did not happen that might have happened because they were silly enough or somehow to put something on their Facebook page that rebounded to their detriment.
And people make cell phone calls that rebound to their detriment.
Or emailed as well. I mean,
email as well, or they put something bad on their resume. It's not that people don't make mistakes, but the information you put on Facebook is only available to employers if you've shared it to those people, if you've shared it openly.
But once it's there.
And there's a responsibility individuals have. Certainly we want to teach people, and people want to teach people to share the things they want to share. I think that if you look at the history of technology, what you always find is that every new technology brings unbelievable opportunities for advancement and living our lives differently. And it's also scary. I mean, one of my favorite stories on this is caller ID. So when caller ID was rolled out, and I'm actually old enough to remember this, unlike my friend over here.
I had caller ID.
Do you remember before caller ID? Oh, that's good. Normally,
you don't remember before caller ID.
No, he says he does.
I remember before everyone had it. So maybe it was
all right. That kind of sort of counts. But when caller ID came out, there was a big privacy uproar. People thought it was a violation of the caller's privacy that their number would show.
Right.
There was talk of legislation. There was talk of states banning it.
Talking a way you could avoid it being seen.
Way you could avoid it being seen because it was considered. I don't know anyone who answers a call that doesn't have caller ID now, because it's not considered a violation of that privacy. It's considered my right to know who's calling me. Otherwise, why would I answer? And so, yes, when you are an early leader like we are in technology, there is always concern, and you're going to continue to your concern.
You know why I have caller ID? Because when I'm calling people, I want them to know it's me calling.
Because
rather than unknown, because I feel that they're more likely to answer my call if they know it's me.
But that is something that caller ID is widely accepted.
Right.
It was a privacy uproar at its time.
Okay, so but tell me where the boundaries are about privacy that you think that we ought to take note of at this moment, because the privacy question most frequently comes back to Facebook.
Well, here's the way that I think about it. I think it's really about control, right? People have things that they want to share with maybe a single person or a small group, and they have things that they'd want to share more broadly. And the real question for me is, do people have the tools that they need in order to make those decisions well? And I think that it's actually really important that Facebook continually makes it easier and easier to make those decisions, because the demographics of people who are using Facebook are changing as well, right? And we started off with these people in college, right, who used computers every single day, and now, as we're up to 800 million plus users, we have people using the site who it's one of the only things that they do on a computer, and maybe they're not computer savvy, right? Or they don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out privacy controls. So what we've done in the last year is we've made it so that anytime you go to share anything, the privacy control is now right there, and it says exactly who you're going to share with. If you're going to be sharing publicly, there's a little globe and it says the word public. And if you're going to be sharing with friends, there's this icon of a few people and it says the word friends, and you can just click and you can change that really easily every time you post anything. And back when we were getting started 7 years ago, I don't know if that was necessary, because the college students and early adopter type folks just had this intuitive understanding of how the service worked. But now, I just think that the boundaries, it's getting more and more important to be increasingly clear and give people those controls. And that's what we're trying to do. And I don't think we're at the end. I think we're going to need to keep on making it easier and easier. But that's our mission, right? I mean, we have to do that because if people feel like they don't have control over how they're sharing things, then we're failing them. I mean, we're making it so they can't share a lot of the stuff that they want to.
I think it is the case that people talk about Facebook and privacy a lot, and I think it will continue to be the case, but it's because we lead in this area, meaning that we are the most privacy-focused place for anyone to share anything.
Well, no, it's because you have more information about everybody than anybody else.
Elliot Schrage has this great story. He works here and runs a good chunk of the company. He says there's this old joke where, the man loses his keys and he's looking for the keys under the lamppost. And someone says, well, why are you looking under the light? They're clearly not here. He's like, well, this is the only place I can see. If I go over there, we are focused on privacy. We care the most about privacy. Our business model is by far the most privacy friendly to consumers, and we talk about it the most. And I think we're the light. We're the light. We are the transparent place where people can understand. And I think you will continue to see conversations about Facebook and privacy, but it's because we lead and we care so much about it.
I think it's worth explaining this a bit more, though. I mean, when you're saying that we're the light, it's because, sure, people have a lot of information on Facebook, but that's information that they've put into the service. If you look at companies, whether it's Google or Yahoo or Microsoft, right, that have search engines and ad networks, they also have a huge amount of information about you. It's just that they're collecting that about you behind your back, really.
So I know,
right?
but
and it's like you're going around the web, and they have cookies, and they're collecting this huge amount of information about who you are, but you never know that. And I mean, some of these companies make an effort to give you a page.
Do you find that a bit scary?
Well, I think it's just less transparent than what's happening on Facebook.
It's the dark.
Right, so on Facebook, if someone wants to target, say, okay, I want to advertise, like I'm a band and I'm coming to the Bay Area. I'm going to advertise to people who like a band, and they're going to, those people only see that if they've put in that they like that band. Right. On those other services, you can still do that kind of advertising, but you're going to find people based on what they've browsed around on the web, and the people have little or no control over the information that a company like Google or Yahoo or Microsoft has about you. And I don't know, I think that some of those companies have made an effort to give people a page that they can go see all the information that the company has about them. But I mean, very few people are actually going to go do that. So in reality, I think that these companies with those big ad networks are basically getting away with collecting huge amounts of information, likely way more information than people are sharing on Facebook about themselves. But I think because people can see how much information people are sharing about themselves on Facebook, it appears scarier. But in reality, you have control over every single thing that you've shared on Facebook. You can take it down. It's in front of you every single day.
If you take it down, you say, look, enough, gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And what happens if you die? What happens then?
We have let us know, we memorialize the page. If a family member lets us know that someone has deceased,
and so anybody wants to take it down and erase forever.
Yeah, you can erase forever. Now, it's not perfect in the sense of if I put something up, I can take it down, it's gone. But if I've shared it and someone's reshared it, it won't go down. It's out there, and that's one of the things. But it really is the point that the only things Facebook knows about you are things you've done and told us. It is self-reported.
But the genius of Facebook is that it has the possibility of sending it out like nothing else to more places.
Facebook never sends any information out about anyone.
I understand that, but it goes out because Facebook has a system that allows that.
Yeah, because Facebook allows other people to share.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Is technology a place that women can find the kind of opportunity that you want them to find? And does it need mentoring and all kinds of other things that people like Sheryl Sandberg can deliver?
Look, I think the issue of women in the economy and the country is a huge one. It's something that I care passionately about, and Mark cares passionately about, and has helped me too. We have basically a stalled revolution for women. Women became 50% of the college graduates in this country in 1981, and then made steady progress. More college degrees, more graduate degrees, more manager positions. And we're still making progress. Over the last 10 years, women have stalled out at the top. Women in corporate America have 15 to 16% of the board seats and of the kind of C-ish level, the high-level jobs, and that has not moved in 10 years. Oh, it's probably longer than we have time for, a lot of reasons, but I really think we need more women to lean into their careers and to be really dedicated to staying in the workforce. I think the achievement gap is caused by a lot of things. It's caused by institutional barriers and all kinds of stuff. But there's also a really big ambition gap. If you survey men and women in college today in this country, the men are more ambitious than the women. And until women are as ambitious as men, they're not going to achieve as much as men.
You know, there's that famous Harvard Business School thing where it was between, you know, they changed the name. One case it was Howard, another case it was
Howard and Heidi.
Howard and Heidi,
Yeah, barely a year ago.
So what does it mean to be Mark Zuckerberg today in terms of what the revolution, in terms of the attention? I mean, in a sense of how you adjust and how you assimilate and how you, in a sense, you know, make sure that you are in command of it and it's not in command of you.
I don't know. I think a big piece is just to try to stay grounded and, I don't know, have a pretty simple life, right? I mean, so people say that, you know, the company is so valuable and there are all these people there and all that, but I mean, I think, you know, the number of people who I work with, I stay focused on keeping them who I think are really good people, really smart, intellectually curious. I spend a lot of time just, you know, with my girlfriend and my dog, and, you know, I mean, we don't have a lot of furniture in our house, so it's really simple. And we're trying to build products for everyone in the world, right? And you don't want to get isolated to do that. We have a very open culture at the company where we foster a lot of interaction between not just me and people, but between everyone else. I mean, it's an open floor plan. People have these desks where no one really has an office. I mean, I have a room where I meet with people, but it has all glass, so everyone can see into it and see what's going on. I don't know. I think that it's really connected to the mission of the company. I think that more flow of information, the ability to stay connected to more people, makes people more effective as people. And I think that's true socially. It makes you have more fun, right? It feels better to be more connected to all these people. You have a richer life. But I also think in terms of doing work and in terms of learning and evolving as a person, you just grow more when you get more people's perspectives and when you're more connected and have more of a flow from people. So I don't know. I think that's really it. I mean, I really try to live the mission of the company and embody that for the company and keep everything else in my life extremely simple.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch as closely as I have, like, since I've known Mark over the last 4 years. In some ways, everything's changed. In some ways, nothing has changed. So what's changed is, you know, he was on his way to being Mark Zuckerberg 4 years ago, but now he's like Mark Zuckerberg.
He is Mark Zuckerberg.
He's Mark Zuckerberg. Well, you know what I mean, right? Like, we used to walk
Halloween,
around Palo
kids
Alto.
come to his house and knock on the
Yeah,
door.
we used to walk around Palo Alto. Right.
And then I asked them if they know
Yes,
which is good.
Connect.
We could walk around Palo Alto 4 years ago and people didn't like look, and now they do. But when you actually know him, like, nothing's changed. He wears actually exactly the same thing, even though it's a new T-shirt. But he wears the same thing. He has the same girlfriend.
Right.
He likes the same restaurants, not necessarily restaurants I like, right? Like, really nothing's changed. He has the same group of friends. And I think the ability, I think we all focus on it here, but, like, stay grounded. Don't change your social circles. You know, I have the same best friends I've had since I was in high school. Mark has the same friends he's had since I was here. And that stuff really matters. Live your regular life and just try to build stuff that matters. That's what we're just trying to do.
Thank you for this. Great
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Thank you for visiting us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're tall.
Yeah, I'm right here?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, no problem.
You can't read that, can you?
I think it says unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
There you go. The date. That's
Oh, the date.
Yeah, the date.
November 3rd?
Yeah, it's the 3rd. Yeah.
Nobody else
Awesome.
could do this.
Thank you.
What a great honor. My God, thank you. Thank you.